JJ Joe, Baylor Color Analyst, Baylor Radio, former Baylor quarterback, joins us on 365 Sports. JJ, we were talking about the depth of the league and surprise teams or whatever, and all of a sudden, your alma mater has some mojo. We thought they had it last week, but they followed up, won another game, dramatic fashion. As a former player, watching how that thing went down, how much fun was that?
Hey, it was a ton of fun, Smoke, and I apologize for being late, man. Work got in the way. But in any case, it was great to see. It was a great feeling. I felt really great for the guys because they're finally starting to get a little payoff from all the hard work and kind of heartache that they had early in the season. So very satisfying. It was great to see the 2013, 2014 guys. Those guys gave us special times and special experiences. So it was just a really, you couldn't script it any better way, I'll tell you.
JJ, the TCU monkey on the back was heavy. I mean, it was really heavy, and you could see it in many of the games over the last decade where bad TCU teams are doing well, about to win the game, and Baylor's like, here we go again against TCU. How did that not creep in on Saturday?
No, I mean, I'm sure it did. I'm sure, it creeped in for all of us to think that, we would maybe let it slide away. But I think what this team has done over the last few weeks is they've proven, hey, look, that, if they get in a pickle, they've been able to run the ball. And that's really, to me, been the big difference in the success of the last 3 weeks versus those first few weeks. If you remember, basically, if Sawyer didn't do it, I mean, it wasn't happening. And now he could turn around and hand it to Dawson or hand it to Bryson. And that's been huge, I think, to calm things down and then give these guys confidence that, hey, look, we can salt the game away if we need to.
I think this Bryson Washington kid might have a little something to him, JJ. What do you think?
Yeah, man. What I like about it, I think I wrote it for you guys this week. I said, it's great to have those two guys kind of, Dawson, he ate the prior week. And then last week, I think probably Bryson was over there watching him. And I think he did, because I think what you saw, they're two different runners. But I think you saw with Bryson, he actually made a couple people missing at different times with a cut. He doesn't have the wiggle that Dawson has, but, he has the explosiveness and the speed. And if he can start making people at least miss him, even if it's a one-cut thing, kind of like what Abram Smith did for us, man, he'll do really well here.
How much did that push on the run before the field goal, and the clock is running like Shock Linwood back in 2014. Yeah. Ted Harrison put together the two plays together.
I saw that.
Yeah. How eerie was that in a way?
It's real eerie, man. So I saw that on, I think it was Twitter. I saw this kind of montage where they put them side by side. And, I remember watching it. It's like, you have these periods of deja vu in your life. And I was sitting in the booth and I said, I think I looked over at John. I said, how far was the field goal in 2014? And it did look so eerie. It just felt like we had seen this before, but albeit they're 10 years apart.
It was mirror. Have you seen the video side by side? It looks like it's mirror image.
It does. It really is. You're right. There's one ass and the other's on the. Yeah, right. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. JJ, you mentioned the running game. The offensive line at the beginning of this year, really they were not anything to write home about at all. And they're not yet the 93 Cowboys, but they have been knocking people back. Do you think it was just as simple as shuffling the lineup like they did a little bit?
No, I think the off week helped them. I think that's the first thing. The off week helped them. I think they weren't getting a lot better, but I think they were slowly getting better. But I really do believe putting moving Lingel in their guard, kicking I'm forgetting the lineman now. I can't believe
Fugar.
Yeah, Fugar out to tackle. It just sometimes you don't know, man. It's just lines are it's all about continuity and working together and all that. And I think something about that mix, and it helps to play opponents that are not as stout as Utah and BYU were. I mean, and Colorado played as good against the run. So I think that helped. The whatever you want to call it, the chemistry between those five guys seems to be working, and it's been huge to the outcome of these last few games. So I think Ebosele will be a really good lineman here. I think they're really hoping that he would take a leap because you look at him, he's a lineman. He can play on Sundays if he just figures out kind of the technical part of it. And he's got a little edge to him too. But I think, he really needs some technical work. And at times I would see him struggle some depending on who he was going against. And I think, making this switch is not a knock on him. It's just saying, hey, these are a few veteran guys that kind of have some games under their belt. And Ebosele just needs a little bit more developmental time.
So 4th and 9 at the TCU 44, 16 seconds remaining. I'm thinking if you don't convert this, which I wasn't feeling good about that, TCU is 1 or 2 plays from field goal range and winning the game in another agonizing fashion. I'm sure I wasn't alone in that. Or you convert it, which they did, J.J. Joe, Sawyer Robertson to Michael Trigg, and you go on and win the game. I was curious your thoughts at the time and then your thoughts as it unfolded and afterwards as they obviously made a play that helped them win that football game.
Well, for anybody who was listening to our broadcast, probably heard me 3 times say, there's no way you go for it. You know what, you go for it. You punt this. Not against this offense. You punt this ball. And we called a timeout, if I'm not mistaken. And I said, like, he's got to punt it. He's got to. And Ricky's saying the same thing I'm saying, right? You got to punt it. But that's why that guy, Aranda is not here and there. Aranda's just kind of right here. And I think he's just very analytical and very data-driven in his approach. And he just felt like, hey, we got to attack. And he made the right call. And that's kind of what you pay the guy to do. Make the call. He made it. It worked out. And I'm glad it did. But Baylor still had to go out and execute it. So I really applaud the guys up front. And I applaud Sawyer and Trigg because that was not as easy as it looked. I mean, there was traffic in there. Sawyer had to make an accurate throw. Trigg had to make a contested catch, knowing contact was there and hands, all that. So I'm telling you, man, it was big. And, after I cheered, but I was kind of still shaking my head like, man, there's no way I would have did that. But hey, that's Aranda for you.
Was it not kind of karma in a way, showing the balls to go and do that versus what Sonny Dykes did not do when he elected to punt it on 4th and short when it's 4th and 2? Like, you could have put Savion Williams as the Wildcat, right? Like, I just felt like it was almost karma cosmically that Aranda went for the gamble, whereas Dykes kind of played scared football, and it paid off the gamble in the end.
It did. I mean, matter of fact, during that, when Dykes was sitting at 4th and 2.5, and he was in Baylor territory, I was like, there's no way he's punting this ball. And I think Rick and I were going back and forth. And I actually said, like, dude, he needs to go for it. He cannot punt it. They can't stop our running game. Why would he punt it? And it reminded me of, it's funny, it reminded me of when Baylor, we played Texas. I think it was in 2012. And it was an offensive game. I think it was like a 50-56 game or something.
Uh-huh.
And Browse, we were at the 50 or the 48 or something, and we were trailing or maybe barely ahead. And Browse on 4th and 5, it's a little bit longer. I think it's 4th and 5, decided to punt it. And I was like shocked, like, why is he punting? And then after the game, I asked him, I said, and he was ticked off too, man. He's ticked off at me for a while. Because, I asked him on the spot, like, what were you thinking as you punted that ball away? And he's a little upset, but we got past it. But it reminded me of Dykes. And Texas wouldn't beat us. They actually drove down, scored, and they beat us by like 6 or 8 or something. And that's what I thought about.
Yeah, 56-50. That's when who was the running back that fumbled near midfield near the end? Because Baylor,
Johnny Jefferson.
No, that was the game of 14.
Game. Sorry, that was another bad memory.
He was from Stony Point, from Round Rock Stony Point.
I forget who it was.
Glasgow Martin.
Glasgow.
Yeah. And what does it say, JJ, that Aranda would make that call knowing that he is on the line right now to turn this team into a team that has a winning season and gets to a bowl game? You think that came into his play at all? Or
I think that's why you did it.
Or is he too deep for that?
No, I think Coach Aranda read that. I think in his mind, I'm not going to get a better go at this than this.
Yep.
And if I give them the ball, even if I give these guys the ball at their, say, more likely you kick it in the end zone, I get it to 20. But these guys, they've been blitzing us, man. I'm not as comfortable with my back end right now. We got to take this week off and really go at it because we're not playing the ball good in the air. Guys that that are good on the edge or killing us in a sense. So I think he looked at it like, hey, look, this is about as best I'm going to have it. And I think he just looked at it analytically. This is probably the best chance I have to win this game. And he was right.
JJ, what'd you think of just the atmosphere, the blackout, the official blackout, the celebration of the 13 and 14 teams, having all those guys back? I said it on the Bearcast today. I thought it was really cool just to simply see like Corey Coleman at the facility taking a picture with his kid and his girl in front of this big mural of him.
Right.
I just thought stuff like that was really cool to see. What was it like for you? I'm sure you probably bumped into a few folks.
Man, it was great to see these guys, man. I'm telling you, because they gave us so many great memories. And part of my concern is that, with all the stuff that went on, I'm not rehashing that. It just seems like we've kind of acted like in some senses that didn't happen almost. Like, we don't celebrate it. Mm-hmm. So it's great to see us celebrate those young men. It was great to see those young men come back in such a mass group, and for us to kind of celebrate them. And I'll tell you, the first thing I thought about when I saw the scene of the blackout and kind of the vibe and the music and the kids were into it, man, as I thought about those days. Because, if you remember, man, it was thumping, and that's what it brought me back to. So it was great to have them there to experience that. And hopefully we'll continue to celebrate those teams, because those young men did big things for us.
JJ, I know that there will be some people who will never, move past, but I do think that for a lot of the people involved directly, there was a catharsis there for coaches, for staff members, to just be able to now move on with their lives and enjoy the good times that were had when they were there.
Yeah, I think so. That's why I was glad to see them come and be there, and us to have the moment. It's so much deja vu. It's a trip to play TCU. It was a trip to win on the last second field goal with the 14 guys here. It was a trip to have the blackout, and you have the scene that reminded you of when those guys were here. So I think it was cathartic. It was, I think, for me. And I just, like I'll say, I hope that we celebrate those young men. And I know it's not the right thing to say, as well as those coaches, for the work that they did. Because they did do a lot. And I know that's not the politically correct thing to say, to kind of get this program there to where, it was. And I hope that we just don't act like it's something that happened that's a stain that we don't never want to celebrate. Because in some sense, it just felt that way for some reason for many years.
JJ, good to hear that from you. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Thanks for jumping on with us. Go back to work.
All right, my man.
Baylor Radio Analyst JJ Joe with us today on 365 Sports.